Unix System Services for Zowe Client Java SDK, an Open Mainframe Project 2023 Summer Internship by James Kostrewski. Hello, my name is James Kostrewski, and I am the 2023 Summer Mentee supervised by Frank Giordano for the Open Mainframe Project for Unix System Services for Zowe Client Java SDK Mentorship Program. Please review these additional links for more information about the project and how it will help a new generation of developers approach mainframe computing. Zowe is a top-level project of Open Mainframe Project focusing on modernizing mainframe experience. This mentorship program focused on a sub-project of Zowe that serves to integrate Unix system services into the Java SDK for use against ZOS mainframe systems. The Java SDK allows the user to leverage the underlying ZOS MF REST APIs on a ZOS system to build client applications and scripts that interface with your ZOS instance seamlessly. The Java SDK joins an existing community of other language-specific SDKs. It provides the Java community with similar capabilities based on the Node.js SDK, which underpins the Zowe CLI subproject. The responsibility of the mentee in this project was to complete USS Rest Api wrapper calls for the SDK with the goal of publishing a new release of the Zowe Java Client SDK for public consumption. This mentee has identified three primary learning categories from his time within the program: object-oriented programming and design, principles of effective leadership and project management, and the role and importance of open source development. Object-oriented programming. Although this mentee is taking coursework involving Java during his undergraduate studies, this is the first time they develop software in a production environment using the language. The time this mentee has spent with the Open Mainframe Project solidified his understanding of object-oriented programming, software design patterns, and the modern Java language. Perhaps most importantly, this mentee experienced their first real exposure to the effective consumption of software documentation and saw firsthand how important this can be to the user. The effectiveness of some teams can almost seem magical, but why is that? During his time in this mentorship program, this mentee has developed a deeper appreciation for the benefits that effective yet flexible planning and communicative leadership can provide for a team. At every point during this internship program, this mentee's mentor pushed him to the limits of his ability while making sure that he knew his mentor was there to help every step of the way. This demonstration in leadership and effective project management has given this mentee a shining example of the kind of professional and leader he would like to develop into. While less of a skill and more of a mentality, this mentee has developed a deeper appreciation for the role that open source software plays within the tech landscape. Further, spending time with like-minded individuals has strengthened the resolve of this mentee to pursue further work on open source projects in the future. This mentee was tasked with design, development, documentation, and testing of items within the scope of this subproject. The mentee learned about and utilized industry-standard software engineering design patterns such as Singleton, Abstract Factory, enums, and more to design the elements being incorporated into the project. This project focused heavily on modern Java. The mentee learned more about elements used in modern Java, such as how to use the optional container class and the Lambda operator. The mentee utilized JavaDoc format and learned more about the Eclipse public license which accompanies the distribution. Functional testing and unit testing were both performed extensively, with the main tools utilized for functional testing being a terminal emulator named PuTTY, and the main tools utilized in unit tests being JUnit and Mockito. The mentor and mentee for this project met weekly to review contributions, perform pair programming, and plan the upcoming week. Deliverables for this project mainly include contributions to the GitHub project repository, where the mentee is now the number 2 contributor behind his mentor. For development, we utilize NetBeans, a free and open source IDE. The primary goal of my mentorship over the summer was to assist with Unix system services integration into the Java SDK for use against ZOS systems. These are some of the methods that this mentee was involved with developing. For reference, we refer to the public IBM ZOS documentation. This mentee had never utilized some of these Unix commands before, so this was a great tool in ensuring he understood the expected functionality of each tool and that he was able to incorporate elements such as required or optional parameters successfully. For development, we sought to have a very tight standard for how each method was organized. Most methods start more or less the same way, starting with connecting to ZOS. Methods were given an alternative constructor that was required for testing using Mockito. While this can be utilized by end users as well, it is simpler for an end user to utilize the single parameter constructor. Most methods start with validating the parameters passed in and returning to the user errors that have been identified. The main components of a ZOSMF request consist of a URL, a header, and a body. These methods exist to build a custom request for each type of command. The example shown here doesn't require a custom header, but the URL is generated from information gathered at the connection, and the body is a map displayed in a JSON object. For unit testing, we utilize JUnit and Mockito. JUnit allows a series of automated tests to run and is a great tool in validating edge cases. These tests can be run individually or as a suite and will be required to pass before a project can be packaged for distribution. Mockito is a powerful open source framework to simulate objects during unit testing. This is useful for isolating and abstracting certain functionality in a test environment. The following is a demonstration of a possible main method that utilizes the pre-built API methods as provided by the Zowe Java Client API to perform a Unix copy command against the ZOS Unix System Services instance. For functional testing, we utilized a piece of software called PuTTY, a free and open source terminal emulator. By entering the IP address and port, the user is then presented with a terminal where they can log in and see what is actually happening in their ZOS system. Using this tool, we can ensure that changes made using our SDK API methods were reflected in ZOS. I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who made this mentorship possible, including the Linux Foundation for their contributions to open source software everywhere, to the Open Mainframe Project, especially Uriel Kilborn and John Mertic for their selfless contributions to the future of mainframe computing, and last but certainly not least, a very special thank you to Frank Giordano for his expert guidance and for being an excellent example of what it means to be a professional, a mentor, and a leader.